I think everybody here, not all of you, thanks for coming tonight. This is the next one of our kind of monthly educationals that we're trying to do every month. We have two wonderful experts here. Andrea and Mark agreed to kind of come over and do this for us. So I'll let them kind of do their own introductions because they're way smarter than me. So I don't know half the stuff they have. But for those of you who do struggle, think about as you play and you struggle with frustrations, how to approach, hook it in the woods. How do you come out with that? Actually, one of my pros just went down to the Q school and first shot on his third round, or on his second round, like, just got a terrible lie. It was plugged, but the rules official said it wasn't plugged, so we had to like chip out, basically tripled his first hole at the front of the first and second round of the Q school. So like, how do you come back to something like that? So think about if you've had those frustrations, pepper them with questions, get as much information as you can, but really honored to have them here, so I'll let you guys kind of take it from here.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we want to thank Chris for allowing us to be here. This is something that Mark and I are trying to do more and more of, getting out there in the community, telling them a little bit more about what we do in our services and how important that is to a lot of athletes out there. So just kind of giving you an overview of how tonight's going to go. We'll do introductions, and then we have an activity for you guys to do. And then we're going to talk to you a little bit more about some information as far as what stress may look like, what some coping mechanisms are to help with that stress, and then also provide you guys with time at the end to talk and have discussion, questions. If you do have a question as we're going through this process, you are free to ask it. We're not gonna be like no questions till the end. You guys are more than welcome to ask as we go along. So with that being said, my name's Andrea, and I am a mental health therapist and mental performance coach, and I have my own practice. It's called Mentphys Wellness. It's in North Raleigh, and I created it on the concept of mental and physical being two equal components for optimal performance. So very important area. And I specialize in working with young athletes, so middle school, high school, and also college level. My main specialty is female athletes, especially in the high school age, while they're prepping to go to college, and also helping them with that transition to college. So I work a lot with performance anxiety, perfectionism, body image issues, anything, injury rehabilitation, helping you overcome any of those obstacles. So my main goal is to help you with mental training, because it is something that we aren't born knowing how to do. It's more so a learning process, something you have to learn and practice. So that's what I strive to help my clients do. So, and here's Mark.
So I'm Mark. Similar, both mental health therapist, so that's kind of what I do. I'm new-ish. I've been here a year. So now I was in Minnesota, I work a lot with hockey players too. It's huge up there. So hockey and soccer are kind of my specialty up there, and exact same thing. I mean, to me, the mind is the most neglected muscle in sports. People just tend to forget about it. You want to get bigger, faster, stronger, hit the ball farther. That's all that matters. You forget about the mind, because that's extremely important. So same thing. What we do is kind of help people reboot the brain, help people calm themselves down, relax the mind, and in doing so, the mind-body connection, you're relaxing the body. Because golf's a slower paced game. So it's slowing down the mind to be with that. The more you get in your head, the more you're not letting your body do what it knows how to do. That's kind of what we're going to talk about quickly, but that's what we do on a one-to-one basis or a team basis too. So that's us in a nutshell. Yeah. So we're going to start with an activity. It's supposed to be fun, so have fun with it. Yes, I can get the mic. Thank you. So if I can get everybody to pull out, there's a numbers grid. I think it's your second page. And you're going to need your pencil for this.
Does anybody not have a packet? Oh. Does anybody need a pencil or pen?
Packet? Yeah. Okay. Both? Okay. Sorry, it's being timed because it's competitive, so this is fun. Okay, that's why we're here. We're competitive. We like to prove ourselves, get better at everything we're doing. So this number grid, there's 2 of them on there. Start with the top number grid. Try not to look at it now, because that would be called cheating. So we're going to do this for a minute. All you do, find 1 on there, circle it, X it, I don't care how, but signify that you saw it, go to 2. Find 2, go to 3. Find 3, go to 4. That's all it is. What we find with this is the higher the number you can get, the more mentally strong you are. The highest score I've ever heard of on this is a 72. The highest I've ever seen is a 42. So I'm expecting high 20s, low 30s. Cool?
What was it? Say it again. What am I supposed to do?
Yes. So find 1 on the grid, circle it, do something to signify you saw it. Find 2, same thing, 3, 4, 5. Keep going. I'm going to count. You get a minute to do it. So I'll let you know when we're running short on time.
Start at 1?
Start at 1 on that top grid. There's 2 grids. So start on that top grid.
We use both grids or just the top?
Just the top grid for this. We'll use the second grid later. Okay, any questions? Let me get my stopwatch ready. Okay, ready, go. Again, the high I've seen is a 42. 72 would be great, so push the limits. You're 15 seconds in. You are halfway, so I'm thinking people should be around high teens, low 20s. $15 seconds left. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. How come nobody seems excited? How would we do? Okay, so let's just start above 30. Above 25. 20. 15? Above 15? What do we get?
15.
Okay, you 2 are going, if you're okay with it, you're going to be my volunteers for the next round, which is coming up quickly. Okay. Above 10? Okay. Just curious, what was difficult about this? Finding 8. Okay. Yes. Well, the me talking, the counting down, some of you, I was in your personal space. Most people don't like that. Probably me setting the bar at 40s or 70s, depends on how competitive you are, definitely has that in your head. And then if you can't find 1 for the first 5 seconds, you're now probably out of your game. And now you're going, wow, this is a lot harder than it should be. Anybody start doing negative self-talk? That this shouldn't be this difficult, what's wrong with me? Things like that. That would be negative self-talk. Okay, so we're going to have fun. We're going to do this one more time. So can I get my 2, I think, volunteers? And then the third person is going to be a wild card. So who wants to be my wild card? Yeah, come on up. So I'm going to have you 3 sit up here.
What'd you get?
So everybody's going to do the numbers grid again. We're just going to make it more challenging for the top 2 in my wild card. So if you could hold your non-dominant hand out, upside down. You're going to balance this ball on there. Maybe lock it there. Maybe that's going to be. And if we could, you got it?
Nope.
Right there. And I want it like chest or above. Okay? Got it? Okay. Come on. Good? Mm-hmm. Okay. Little higher. I mean, you're shorter, but still a little higher. Got it? Okay. So, hold on, let me pull my phone out. We're going to do the same thing again. So, we're doing it again. Should we get higher scores?
Yeah.
Yes. Presumably we should. This should be pretty easy. We got it down. I've just told you to calm. I didn't tell you how to calm yourself down, but I told you you should calm yourself down, right? So we should have higher scores. Okay. Some of you are looking down already. We, again, call that cheating, but good strategy. Okay. Hold on. Are you ready? Let's do one deep breath. Okay, and go. There you go. Tennis balls are high enough, thank you.
What's the highest score on this?
72.
72.
72, yep.
Pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say that you've seen before?
42.
42?
Yep.
Wow.
I think this group's rocking a 17 is the high score at the moment.
Let me down.
So like almost halfway maybe?
Oh, thank you, sorry. Yes, we are 35 seconds in.
So we maybe should be at like 20.
I'm thinking, I mean, it's second round, so it should be higher, so I'm thinking 20s.
Sounds about right.
Okay, 15 seconds. This is like hole 17, hole 18. Ooh, sorry. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. So we're going to start with our 3. 17 last time? What did you do this time?
14.
14, so a little bit down. 15 last time?
Low.
Low? What'd you get?
I got, I think a 5.
A 5? Okay, so you cut it in a third. Not the direction we're headed, but good job. What'd you get the first time?
I think 7.
A 7? What'd you get this time?
7.
A 7, consistent. Okay, so what did I change for them? Yes, so I added a very slight distraction. That really should not change your focus from the numbers, but having that, I was nice. I've done it with live mouse traps before. People tend not to like that. But I was trying to induce more stress. You guys had the highest scores. Does anybody notice anything about grid 1 and grid 2? Numbers are in the exact same place. They're just written differently. So you really should have done better. Okay. Sorry, thank you. Yes, good job. So the point of this, we're talking about stress and how to manage it when it rises. So was this stressful for anybody? Maybe stress is a strong word. Yeah? Was it when you were up here? Yes. Okay. Stressful for anybody else? Like, how come I'm not getting a higher score? Where are the numbers? Frustration, maybe that's a better word. Yeah. Can't find it. The 72 is real. Somebody got that, but they were very good at, they were probably autistic. I wasn't there, but they just saw numbers. The 42 I saw was the highest I've ever seen. I exaggerated on the rest of it. Most people do not get in the 20s. I usually get a few high teens, low 20s. The highest, I've done this like 15 times. Highest I've ever gotten is low 30s. So, give yourself a break. But the point was, what was going on inside your head? Does anybody want to share?
Like, why can't I find the 4? Or why can't I do this? Or why
Yes.
can't I change the law?
Yes, perfect.
So the first time I was searching in order, the second time, I figured I could probably, when I saw a 19, I hit it. When I saw an 18, so I kind of picked a range. And when I got...
So you didn't do it in sequential order.
I accepted myself.
So you didn't do it, what'd you get the second time around?
19.
19? Okay. Okay. So you had a strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I've heard is that if you block those into 4 like quadrants, the numbers kind of bounce back and forth between those 4. So that's another strategy that somebody who got in the 30s told me about. I have a hard time seeing it, but that's what they said. So what we're trying to do was any physiological body responses, accelerated heart rate, sweaty palms, anybody get, sorry, I was trying to bother you because I didn't notice anybody was getting twitchy. Anybody start moving a leg when they get nervous? This is very common. You start twitching.
I can relate to the accelerated heart rate.
Yeah. You can feel it too? Yeah. Okay. And how does that help you?
No.
No, tends not to, right? Because now your body is now shifting to fight or flight mode.
Right.
And that's, again, your mind is now gone, and all of your, related to sports, all your coaching, all your training is now pretty much out the window, and you're now just trying to escape and survive. So now instead of like trying to finesse your putt, you're just like, I just got to get this done with, and let's just do this. You got to calm the heart rate down. And usually with the heart rate, with the mind-body connection, there is some story going on in your head, whether how come I didn't hit that where I should have, or I hit it too far, or I shanked it. Like there's so many different terms that we have, and it sometimes gets much darker than that. I shouldn't be here, I'm not good enough, this competition is way better than me, or just personal to yourself, I'm better than this, but you start beating yourself up. So the other thing I'm going to talk about quick on that first page again, it's that grid. So when I was kind of learning this, this is that optimal performance zone. On that first page is kind of how I learned it. So I'll just kind of describe that left side, the relaxed, and feel free to write this down, that relaxed broad awareness zone, that's kind of where you're overconfident. You're disengaged. You have low energy, kind of going through the motions. You're lacking focus. Passion for the sport or passion for what you're doing is minimal or gone. And then like very broad awareness. Does anybody know what I mean by broad awareness?
It's not specifically detailed, so you're just going by like the color of something instead of specifically saying it's like a reddish orange.
I'm going to go even broader than that. You're on the right track. If you're golfing, you're more worried about your homework. You're more worried about what you're having for dinner. You're more worried about what your friends are doing than your round. Because, again, you're here, you should be doing really well. I'm not worried about this round. I should be doing this really well. So you're, again, lacking focus. Your mind's somewhere else. On the far right side, the tension and narrow awareness, it's pretty much the exact opposite, right? So over there, we're lacking confidence. Your muscles are tight. And easy question, right? Is that good or bad when you're golfing? Bad, kind of like terrible. You need to be kind of loose to some degree. You have uncontrolled energy, and that could be outward or inward. Your mind's all over the place, or I talked about fidgeting. You just have to keep moving to try to calm yourself down. You're over-focused, and what I mean by that is you're putting and it's a 15-foot putt. You miss it by 3 inches, and you're just giving yourself the hardest time. Like it's hole one, or kind of like you talked about with the professional, it's like the end of the world. And the next 17 holes, you can't refocus, reboot your brain. You're angry and or anxious, so the mood's not where you want it to be. And you have very narrow awareness, which kind of goes with the over-focused. Every little detail that doesn't go perfectly, you're catastrophizing, overanalyzing it, making it a much bigger deal than it probably is. So what we strive for is that optimal performance zone, or what I refer to as, it's just the OPZ. In there, we have a sense of control. You're living in the here and now, which we'll talk about some activities to get your brain back to the here and now. That's the goal of this presentation. It's a loss of self-identity. So it's not the, I'm one of the best players here, I should be just dominating this. It's you're present in the here and now. It doesn't matter how good you were, how good you're not, you're living in the here and now. Time disappears, which golf isn't as relevant as other sports, but time is just gone. You're just out there having fun. You have balanced energy. You're there for love of the game, which is why we all should be playing sports. You're engaged, and I'll repeat myself, you're having fun. So have we heard the phrases natural? Right? What does a natural mean? They were born and they were just amazing. They don't need to practice. They show up on the golf course and they're getting 18 hole-in-ones. Let's make it really extreme. Something like that. So kind of where do they belong on this grid? In the middle, left, right, middle left. I usually go far left, because to me a natural isn't a thing. It doesn't exist. Some people are more genetically inclined, but they're not naturals. They have to work day in and day out. If you look up, I talk a lot about Michael Jordan or LeBron, pretty much any high-profile athlete in any sport. They're putting in so much work behind the scenes, and I call it like the ESPN complex that we watch that, we see their highlight reel. We don't see the work they put in every single day, their diet, how they're working with probably 5 or 6 coaches to fine-tune everything. We just see their highlight reel. So we think that's what we should be doing. Some language, you don't have to write this down, but natural language that I've heard a lot is I've arrived, and they think things need to be perfect. Also with that, things should be easy. If things go wrong, they're blaming others instead of themselves or taking accountability. They have nothing to learn because they're naturals. It's hardwired into them. They have nothing to learn at all. Effort can equal something to the effect of I suck. And criticism equals I'm a bust. So a bust is going to be on the opposite end. And a bust is pretty much I'm not good enough, I shouldn't be here, I should quit the sport. So a bust is somebody that's over-analyzing everything, catastrophizing every mistake they make. And what we find their language is they blame themselves only. and nothing else. Not the conditions, not the rain, not the that shot hit a rock, like nothing. It's 100% on them. They're extremely overcritical. They think they can't learn. Mistake equals a punishment, so a mistake is not a learning opportunity, it's a punishment. They don't belong, they're not good enough, and in the end, they just want to quit. So again, in that OPZ, you see a mistake as a chance to get better. You see a mistake as a chance to, I can fine-tune that. It may not happen every single day, but there's always an opportunity to get better. Mistake does not mean a failure. Mistake means, wow, let me try that again, and maybe I did something wrong with my arms. Maybe I didn't, but let me fine-tune that to continue to get better and better each time I'm out here. Any questions on that? The numbers grid are kind of the grid that I just went over. We can talk about it later too, but good? You ready? Okay.
Okay. So we look on the back part of this sheet, we're talking about what stress looks like. So looking at that list, we have irritation, short temper. You might feel frustrated. You may have a decrease in appetite. You may have some headaches. You may be experiencing just overwhelming amount of anxiety, fear. And when I get calls from parents, a lot of them stem from, my child's performance, they can see the decline. They see that their confidence is really low. They see that they're not enjoying their sport anymore. They're having a difficult time really being able to be present. Maybe they don't want to go to practice anymore. They're starting to get short-tempered with their parents, and that relationship is being troubled because of the frustration that the athlete has. And then the parent also on the other end is frustrated because they don't know that they can help their child. Many of the parents that call and talk to me about their athletes, a lot of them are saying the same thing. And when they call and talk to me, they present it as, I know that's a lot, and I know it's maybe a lot to handle, and I have to tell them, I hear it a lot. And I think people, when they're in this situation, it's, this is the only one. I'm the only one going through all of this. No one else understands how I feel. And there are a lot of athletes that may feel this way. They may feel unable to manage their stress, which can create a lot of anxiety. They may feel like everything needs to be perfect, that every time they go out and practice, they have to do it perfectly. And that's what creates this list of stressful symptoms. And that's what I see with my clients every day. It's getting them to understand that how they think about their performance is going to result in how they feel overall when they're doing the performance. Is it, driven by the fact that I have a fear that if this isn't perfect, I'm not going to be able to please my parents or please my coaches. So there's a lot of expectations that you may put on yourself to want everything to be perfect, and that's when that anxiety and that stress becomes unmanageable. So coping mechanisms that Mark and I have talked about, we've tried to have our clients use that have been helpful. We have some listed here, and some of the ones with breathing, there's a lot of breathing exercises, and the one listed on here is just one that is recommended, that Mark has found helpful.
Yeah. It's one I love, I'll just say it that way. So if you Google whatever, there's hundreds of different breathing or meditation. Mm-hmm. The one I love is just remember 3 numbers, 5, 3, 7. Here's your first test. What are the 3 numbers? 5, 3, 7. Good work. So it's in for 5, hold for 3, exhale for 7. You want to work on diaphragmatic breathing when you're doing deep breathing. Does anybody know what? Thank you. Oh, thank you. Do we know what that is? Where our diaphragm is?
Diaphragm?
Stomach region. I guess I would say stomach breathing is the best. We find it's natural, bad word. It's been worked on a lot by musicians, artists kind of in that, people who sing, people who play an instrument, and swimmers. Because they have to be able to hold their breath for a decent amount of time. I grew up playing hockey, soccer, and baseball. I didn't have to work on this, so it still takes me a lot of work to focus on diaphragmatic breathing. So a way you can tell, you're like, I don't know if I do that. Hand on your chest and hand on your stomach. Take a deep breath in. What expands first? Should be your stomach. when we're trying to calm down. Because that's the diaphragm. The diaphragm can hold a decent amount of air. Then you can expand the chest, and now you're holding more air, which is going to slow down your heart rate. Okay, so we're going to practice 5 through 7. Okay, so I'm going to count. You just breathe. A few other things: in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, feel free to close your eyes. Doesn't really close your eyes if you feel like it. Okay, ready? Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Slowly exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do it again. Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Slowly exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 is a magic number, so one more time. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. And slowly exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did that feel like it calmed you down a little bit? Maybe you weren't worked up. Okay, so what we find, lots of things happen there. So we call them grounding techniques. Doing that deep breathing, focusing on the numbers, that's why I like that, is making you pay attention to the numbers and not that shot you missed, not that test you didn't do well on, not that friend that is really bothering you today. It's focusing back into here. So you're slowing down the heart rate. What it also does is the 5 seconds in, physiologically, so body, it's raising the shoulders. And what we find is that most people carry tension in their shoulders. So it's causing your shoulders to go up, which is sending a response to the brain, going, why are my shoulders up? I must be in danger. That's bad, right? But the 7-second exhale, so the 2-second difference, what we find is shoulders have to go down a little bit, and then that's in the response to the brain, oh, my shoulders went down, there's nothing to worry about. And that's going to slow down your heart rate. It's pulling you to the here and now, not distracting you by that shot. You're not worried about that shot you just took. You're worried about the next shot, and everything's slowing down in the body, which means the mind's slowing down with it. Okay, that's 5 through 7.
Any questions about that? Okay. How many of you have tried a meditation app or any form of meditation? Okay, a few of you. It's definitely a great tool. I recommend it to a lot of my athletes. It has a lot of different, depending on what app you get, there's a lot of different things you can do. There's some visualization, there's basic breathing, like the exercise you guys just did. So there's a lot of options there for being able to practice that. We talk about mindfulness and being mindful of your surroundings, and it's a great tool to have, especially with golf, because it's such a long time that you're out there, and a lot of ups and downs can go with how you're thinking, your mood. So being able to be in the here and now, like Mark had just mentioned, is very, very important. And that starts with being mindful. So when we do that, we want to think about our 5 senses. So taking point of what do we see, what do we hear, what do we taste, smell, and touch. So instead of focusing on the score, say, oh, I need to do well on this hole so that I can keep my score here. We are focusing more on how do my hands feel in my club? What am I smelling? How does the grass smell, or do I hear birds chirping? Being able to notice your surroundings and focusing on that rather than, focusing on what your score is going to be or what your last shot was. So that kind of helps you bring you back to the here and now when you notice those 5 senses. Also, what's a really good tool is if there's something in particular that makes you feel a sense of joy, makes you feel a sense of calm or relaxed, having that cue word and being able to use that in that moment. And that gives you a little bit more of bringing you back to the here and now. I've had people use their dogs' names before, something like that. It just kind of helps bring you back to the moment and get you, off of that thinking of, oh, I have to do this so that I can end up with this outcome, which is usually the score. So mindfulness is a really good tool for that. There's also visualization. A lot of my clients like to use that, but it's also a very difficult tool to learn because it needs to be practiced. A lot of these skills that we talk about need to be practiced daily. Visualization is something that if it's a tool for you, if you really like it, it's really encourage that you practice it a lot. I have a lot of my clients use that in their routine. So that's one of the things that I work a lot with clients, is having a routine. So if you are already doing a routine that is specific to each shot that you take, maybe adding in a breath or adding in some type of visualization, that's always can be very helpful in making it more of a thing that's consistent for you, because when you maintain that consistency, you're going to be able to go back each time, and that's going to create self-confidence, because you know, okay, each shot is going to be the same. I'm going to approach it each time the same. I have my routine. I go back to my routine. Oh, that shot might have not been how I wanted it to be, but you're getting yourself back on track by going to that routine and helping you stay in the flow, stay in the here and now. So those are a couple techniques that can be used for that. The other thing is not performance related in the moment of performance, but also just outside of your performance. So taking a walk or doing something that's relaxing, maybe doing something with your family, playing a kickball game, or doing something that you're not so focused on that sport. You can take yourself out of that environment and be able to just put yourself in more of a fun, relaxed setting for you. And then also being creative. A lot of my athletes find other things that bring them a sense of accomplishment that's outside of their sport. Because a lot of times we get so focused, and I know a lot of you are just one sport people now. When I was growing up, I'm sure same for you, we played 3 sports. And now a lot of it is just one sport. So that can get very, tunnel vision, and you can focus on that all the time. And as young athletes, we tend to also associate that with our identity. So we want to be able to separate those and know that our sport doesn't define who we are. It's just a piece of that. So by being able to have other things that we're doing, we're able to get that sense of accomplishment. And it's not just in our sport, because most of us are not going to become professional athletes. It's not going to be what we do, every day of our lives. We're going to have to do other things. So being able to transition from that is going to be really helpful for you to build confidence outside of your sport, so that it doesn't put so much pressure on you to be very successful in your sport. Does that make sense? Any questions about that?
Buzzword now is, it's been about a year, 2 years, but grit, to be gritty, is to kind of power through adversity, be resilient, same type of thing. So to us, we've talked about this, that's what sports help us learn, is how to, when faced with adversity, because sports are adversity. They're going to challenge you in so many different ways. How do you keep pushing through? How do you become a better version of yourself every single day? Mm-hmm. Whether you go on to play in college or not, whether you go on to play professionally, maybe. I didn't, but whatever. You might. It's how do we become a better version of ourselves every single day, and not let roadblocks or bumps along the way stop us from becoming the best version of ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's what we talk a lot about, and these skills do that. One thing I wanted to reinforce, and you said it, the more you practice this, the better you're going to get at it. Just like, did anybody pick up a golf club one day and just Happy Gilmore'd it, just could hit it 400 yards? My guess is no. So it takes practice to get better at it, just like with these calming techniques. They're not something you start today and it's going to be perfect tomorrow. But it's a tool that's going to help you get better and better. And all of it you make your own. We have a whole list of them. This is just a start. Mm-hmm. But you pick ones that you like, ones that work for you, and you keep reinforcing them. And then they become your strengths. Yeah, and that's important too, is not every coping mechanism is going to work for you. You're going to find the one that you're like, oh, this is my go-to. Other ones just, may not have that big impact on you. So it's about trial and error, figuring out what works. And then also as you go throughout your career, there's going to be things that you are going to want to change. Your competition level is going to change. So you may go and want to use a different coping mechanism, whatever it is. It's always going to be what is fitting for you at that moment. So the other part on this is talking about parents. We deal a lot with parents. It is just, the natural process. You guys want the best for your kids, and as kids you want to normally, please your parents and, show them that, it's worth all the effort that they're putting in too. So
one of the biggest obstacles and why Mark and I do what we do is that relationship that athletes and parents have sometimes getting, a little bit jagged, I guess,
Clouded?
Yeah, exactly, clouded. So our purpose is to help with that and help be the person in between, because when we have young athletes, again, we have that need to please parents, need to please coaches, and we can be in the neutral zone. We can kind of, we don't have expectations. They don't see us as, someone that they need to please, so it's more so we're just kind of in that neutral zone where we can have the best impact by helping you be able to, get our information, because sometimes when parents say something, it's in one ear and out the other, so we're hoping that we have a little bit more of an impact on that. So one of the biggest things is when we talk about mental toughness, and it's something that Mark and I talked about in the beginning, overall the importance of it. It's not something that you're born with. It's something you need to learn. It's something that's practiced. And that's also with the parent too. So the parent being able to learn mental toughness and being able to model that to their kids is going to be very, very helpful in your relationship. Because you're showing them, it's okay to fail, it's okay to, have these expectations and them not be met. That's going to be really helpful in them knowing, okay, I don't need to be perfect. It's going to be, what I try and put forth my best effort, that's going to be enough. So that's a really important concept that I think a lot of times, athletes that come with me and talk with me about their struggles with their parents, being able to bring the parent in, bring the athlete in together and get everybody on the same page and say, this is how the athlete would benefit from the parents' responses, and getting everybody, on the same page is really helpful. Okay. So communicating that it's not all just about winning. That's
It's
a
nice to
hard
win.
concept.
I really do like winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very hard concept. But one of the things that we talk about when parents, they go and they watch their kids play, and they get very into it. Emotions are, very high, and it's really important to have a plan as a parent, even to go when you go to these sporting events, when you go to the golf course. It's important to have a plan for yourself of how you are going to react to how your child is playing. And setting the expectation that your kid isn't going to perform the best every time they go out there. There's going to be those failures, there's going to be those challenges. And having that expectation and everybody being on the same page with that expectation is going to be really important for their development as they go through this process. Speaking of process, it's important to remember that this is a process. And it's one of the big things when I work with golfers, getting that concept across, is that this is a process. And especially with golf being such a long game, keeping that in mind, every shot, okay, this is a process, this is something I'm working toward, and seeing that rather as it being a failure every time. And again, we talked about the identity, making sure that you are helping them realize who they are outside of their sport too, separating that identity versus who they are in their sport and their performance. Their performance doesn't, show who they are, giving them that sense of identity outside of the sport. One of the biggest things I ask my clients is, are you having fun? Why are you doing this? It's because you love what you're doing, right? You're having fun and you love it. And if that concept is difficult for them at that time, then it may be time to look at a change. What are you doing too much? Are you burning yourself out? Really looking at, is this a time to slow down? Is this a time to really evaluate, do I want to do this sport anymore? Because if you're not having fun and you're not enjoying it, and if it's not something you love doing, it's really time to question what performing in that sport is doing for you. And boundaries. That's, again, really important, being able to accept failure and learning from that and knowing that it's okay. It's really important for parents and children to talk about that concept, and for parents to model that as well. One of the things that when we talk about boundaries and we talk about how parents react to some of their kids' performances, making sure again that you guys are on the same page, that you are able to communicate effectively in a way that puts the emotion out of it. And a lot of times the best thing to do after a performance is get in the car, go and just make it, we're not talking about it. We're not talking about sport until tomorrow. Just putting that expectation off the table that you're just going to go, maybe get something to eat, whatever. Just put that expectation aside until the emotions are down and you're able to talk about it more effectively. And then, as I said, in the beginning, Mark and I are here, as that neutral point. So if you feel like that would be a good opportunity to have someone be in the middle and help with that relationship, it's always good to have that option, being able to have someone to, ask questions and be able to be in the middle. So, anything you want to touch on that?
No,
Okay.
sounds good. Good work.
Any questions on that? Sure.
So what do you think about the role of affirmations in prepping for sport?
From the parent or from the? Extremely important. Like they need that positive self-talk. To me, like you mentioned visualization. To me, the positive affirmations can easily turn into the positive visualization. And then from that, I'm like self-fulfilling prophecy. If you see it, then it's more likely you're going to act that way.
So an example would be
Of
an affirmation.
positive affirmation to me, like it could be something very simple, like you got this. Today's going to be a good day. I'm going to hit this ball well. I mean, you keep it usually pretty simple. If it gets too specific, then you're going to go, oh, I didn't do that, and then it's in your head. You want to keep it kind of specific, or as Andrea said, kind of going back to a time when maybe a similar shot you hit really well, and then playing that in your head a few times, and then now that muscle memory is being played, those connections are up there, and it's like, oh, I'm more likely to hit that ball at a higher success rate than if it's like, ooh, this is a difficult shot, it's not going to work. Okay, good question. Yeah. Do you want to answer that differently?
No.
Or add to it? Okay.
That's good.
Talk about differences you see in athletes in terms of gender or race.
As far as gender, I see a lot of difference with, just because I work a lot with female athletes, so when I do work with male athletes, I see a little bit of the difference, and it's, pretty much comes down to the females that I see are a lot more open to wanting to share, talking, and we hit a lot on other areas of what's going on in their life, and not just the sport, and seeing how much they put into their sport is impacting other areas of their life too. So I feel like I don't know if it's just how I am as a professional, but I can get a little bit deeper with female athletes. I think the males may be a little bit more timid to want to be open up about this kind of stuff when it comes to that, but
Yeah, I mean, I use the word, males tend to have a harder time being vulnerable. So to admit you're not great at this, to admit I need help is more of a struggle for them. And then that's also tied to their identity. If they're really good at this sport, to admit I'm not as good as I think I am is like, it doesn't, but in their mind, like if I admit that, then my whole world is caving in. So that's kind of what I work with, is to admit vulnerability is actually a strength, not a weakness. And it's something we should embrace every day, because that's vulnerability is being able to make a mistake, to push outside your comfort zone and then to get better. If you're not vulnerable, if you're not pushing outside of your comfort zone, you're not going to continue to grow. Race. I think for me, I honestly haven't noticed a big difference. I mean, being therapists, we kind of hit every aspect of their life. But to me, it's not specific to race. It's based off those other aspects. Socioeconomic status, family dynamics, family of origin, where they grew up, a lot of this stuff, expectations, external, internal. And at least I found that doesn't seem specific to race. It's just who they are, or the world around them, I guess.
yeah, I'd say the same.
Okay.
I see the same too, yeah.
So the thing that Chris was talking about, kind of like something happening to distract you, and I see it a lot in junior golf, also with my child, is you're going, and then something goes wrong, and then we're off the track. And then how do we, what do you recommend to get back on the track or not to stay distracted? Because just speaking personally, you talk about it, and you talk about it, and you talk about it. So what I'm asking you is, what are some things to kind of get over the hump?
Yeah.
Sure. One of the biggest things is that acceptance. So when you hit a bad shot, it's accepting and acknowledging that you hit a bad shot versus the negative self-talk that comes with that. So you're acknowledging, what happened. Okay, it was a bad shot. Now what do I need to do to move on? And that's, again, where that routine comes in so well, is because you're able to know, okay, this is what I need to do to get back into my flow. And when we talk about flow, we talk about that, equal mindset of, things are going right. I have the good confidence, a lot of positive self-talk. But really finding the ability to get back into the routine, I find for a lot of my athletes is the best way to get back into that, and acknowledging that this is what's going on. This is the here and now. I didn't do as well of a shot as I want to do. I'm acknowledging that and accepting it. Here's what I need to do next time, and then move on from that. Because dwelling on it is, so many people do that. They're like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. Now, and you're in your next shot, and you're still thinking about it, and accepting it, learning from it, and moving on, going back into the routine. That's what I find has been most successful for my athletes.
Pretty much the same, but one thing I try to distill with people is giving yourself grace. We all make mistakes, we're human.
Right.
So to say that shot didn't go the way I wanted it to, same thing, acceptance, giving yourself grace, I can do better next time. So instead of letting that continue to stay in your mind, you can put it in the past and you can analyze it after. It's not going to help you analyze it now. And the coping mechanisms that are on here, that's kind of ideally what's going to help reset your brain or reboot it or get it back to homeostasis, whatever phrase you want to use. That's going to get you back to the here and now, and you're not worried about 5 seconds ago, you're worried about 5 seconds from now, which is kind of where we all want to be. Yeah.
So we talked about technique of thinking and listening about what's around you. Well, I played a tennis tournament, and when I let those outside distractions in, that just swayed me off the path.
Okay.
So do you have a technique of just zoning it all out?
So which aspect of the senses zoned you out? Or not zoned you out, sorry, distracted you? Was it the auditory?
Hearing, hearing.
Okay. So I would say just leave that one out. I mean, simplifying it, just go out visually. What I do is I just do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 5 things you see, and just say them out loud, say them in your head. 4 things you feel, and feel would be external, not internal, not I'm feeling anxious, that's not going to help. I feel my feet on the floor, I feel my hand in my hair, I feel the shirt, it's pulling you back to the here and now. And if hearing is a hard one, because it is a tournament, there's noise, skip that one. Because what we find is that physiologically there's different parts of the brain that are hooked to each sense. So you're hitting different parts of the brain, and when you're getting stressed out, that fight or flight is triggered, a part of your brain's kind of going off the grid. Simplifying it, it's like the thinking side and the feeling side. And when you're stressed out, the thinking side disappears. It's like higher functioning. And that feeling side of being overwhelmed, overanalyzing, all of that is now running. There's nothing to slow it down. So doing the 5 senses will hit different parts of the brain, and it'll bring this side back online. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Also important to kind of figure out if there's something in particular you don't want to be listening to. If there's something that's triggering you, whether it's a parent, a coach, other teammate, being able to recognize that too. Acknowledging it.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you could zone in on things that, whether it's somebody cheering, even if they're not cheering for you, who cares? Take that. That's now yours. Or bouncing the ball, hearing that hit the court each time is like, okay, I can appreciate that. That's pulling me to the here and now. So kind of reinforce the positives. So there's different options. And again, like we said earlier, it's finding what works for you. It's practice with all of this.
Yeah. And you have the choice to, hear what you want to hear, see what you want to see. I mean, it's that whole concept of think about a purple elephant, you're going to think about a purple elephant. I mean, it's your ability to control that within your mind. So that's why the practice of this is so important, doing it within your practice setting, and then also so you're prepared and ready to do it during the game as well. Any other questions? Anybody have for us? How much time do we have left? We got on time. 10 minutes. Or not?
10 minutes.
Okay. Any questions from the The online people?
Well, they asked if you saw Vicky Fowler, I said,
Like in person?
Watch it. No, I didn't
Yeah,
watch it.
review
I
us.
tried to catch him, but I didn't watch that one.
they were wondering what you guys thought as an analysis of this play.
Can you give us
Okay.
a quick rundown of what?
Yeah. Could you give us an
Ball in
overview?
the water, he chipped it, he actually did a pretty good chip, went into the water.
Okay.
Took the wrong drop, placed it, and then he walked up to the greens for one of the lamp, and the ball rolled into the water on its own.
Okay.
It's a good heart. It would have been neat to see a heart rate monitor.
Mm-hmm.
Full custody, you don't see any emotion in it.
Yeah.
Came back, called in an official, so this is all like a 20-minute process. It places it again, it stays there, it hits it on green, makes the cut. He winds up winning the turn, he was up by like 4 or 5 shots. And
Okay.
lost his lead. And then he came back and won the turn. Because the other guy was chip, of course. He didn't come in, but it was a great example for all golfers to see that, because we've all been in positions like that. And whatever I'm sure it was a breathing technique
Yeah.
that he was doing to get his heart rate down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure his mind was
Yeah. Well, and I find it higher profile athletes I've worked with, they do a lot of what do I control, what do I not control. He didn't control that ball moving. So he's like, I'm not going to let that bother me. This could change the outcome, or I can do what I can, be resilient, get it back. And it was nice that somebody else choked, or maybe he just wanted to make it interesting. You know, you never really know. It's not really what they do, but yeah.
That's a good point too. I talk a lot with my athletes about what you can control and what you cannot. And if you look at it as a diagram, you're in this small circle and you have what you can control, and you put a circle outside of your circle, and that's all the things you can't control. And there's so many things, especially within golf, because it's so long, and you're out in nature. And there's a lot of things that are outside of your control. And again, that's where that acceptance comes in, and being able to accept that, okay, that was out of my control. What is within my control in this situation that I have over? And that's, doing my breathing technique, doing what I need to do to get myself back to the mindset that's going to help me the most. So again, you have that control. You just have to realize what's within yours and what's not. So it's really important. A lot of times we get confused with that.
really in a situation like that, or any situation, all of a sudden this crazy, unexpected thing happened, but you have to make a decision in a period. But most of us, it's like a 5-minute period.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, when your heart starts racing, your brain kind of shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
So is it literally just a breathing thing to get that back, or is there?
There's a lot of, I like the breathing the most, but there's other things. Those coping skills all work. They work differently for each person. The more you practice them, the better they become. There's another product called HeartMath or M-Wave, and what that does, it just hooks up to your earlobe, and it kind of measures your heart rate, and it's really just 3 different lines, one line, it changes colors, and the more you focus on it, the harder it gets, so it's really about relaxing everything. It's a really simple concept. What you're really trying to get, I haven't used it in a while, blue, I think blue is the best, green's okay, red is obviously bad, because it's always bad. So you're just focusing on relaxing yourself. So again, that's building up the neural activity in the brain to, I can calm myself down, and the better you get at it, the faster you can calm yourself down. So there's a lot of little tricks to it, visualization, him not catastrophizing it, him doing some deep breathing or whatever kind of his meditation is, or calming himself down. And you're right, he's extremely stoic would be a good word, I think, for him. He does not show much emotion. Where you see players that get rattled and you can visibly see it, it's easy to go, they're done. Mm-hmm. So I think that's his strength too, is nobody sees it, so nobody's reacting differently to him. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of little things that really add up, and keep reinforcing practice.
Mm-hmm. Practice. Yes.
I'll do one more, just coping mechanism that I love. Okay, so people love to be volunteers, right? Can I get 2 volunteers? Oh, now everybody's terrified. Okay, oh yeah, come on back. One more? Okay, good. So, it's very simple. So all you're going to do is pick a 3-digit number. Can you say it out loud?
365.
365? Okay, now count down by 7s.
150, 143.
Out loud. Go ahead.
358, 136, 300. 300.
129.
351.
150.
344.
101.
Okay. Did anybody check? Were they right? It doesn't matter if you're right. Do you, either of you remember what I said before I said pick a 3-digit number?
Count down by 7.
Nope. That was
I
after.
need a volunteer.
That was way before. The point of the activity is you don't remember because it works. Counting down by 7s from a 3-digit number, there's enough cognitive ability going on in your brain that you don't remember what just happened. So doing that after you take a bad shot or you're in your own head, it's a weird one because people usually hate it, right? Was that fun for you? Most people don't like it. So that's one they tend to avoid, but it's one that really works well because it really is pulling you into the here and now with your numbers. You're not paying attention to where your shot was. You're not paying attention to anything else around you. You're not paying attention to what people are saying. You're in your own head. You're grounding yourself. And then usually with that, it's like, I don't remember why I was just upset. And a lot of times, like, oh, I do remember. You're not going to go down that same path because now you're calm. So those emotions are now at bay. Thank you. Good work.
How much, from a practicing standpoint, like what's the fitness is very easy? What's the regimen that somebody should be looking at?
I know what I tell people, obviously the more the better, but I do, try to do it 4 times a day. First thing when you wake up, lunchtime, dinner time, and before you go to bed. And it doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It can be 2 to 3 minutes. The more you do it, the better. But if you break that up throughout the day, then you're really getting it in from different angles. Because throughout the day, you're going to be at different stress levels or different energy levels. So it's really hitting you from different angles. And a lot of people are like, oh, I couldn't remember to do it when I missed that shot. Well, yeah, that makes sense. You're not stressed out. You haven't trained your brain to calm down. So the more you do it when you're not worked up or a practice round or before you go out there, the better off you're going to be. That's a good question.
So the practice part that Chris was talking about, like for beginners, like folks that, not like her who haven't tried to meditate or haven't done anything, like what's the starting point for juniors, to do this practice?
Get there. Yeah. Well, and to me, I keep advocating the breathing one, but there's different forms of breathing. It's fine if the 5-3-7 is like, it's not for me. There's square breathing. All you do is breathe in for a second. You can visually draw a square with your hand, you can draw it with your hand, or you can just visually see it. Just breathe a second in, a second out, a second in, a second out. It's controlling your breathing. Another one, if you're a visual person, is just same thing, in through your nose, out through your mouth, but imagine breathing in something that's calming for you. And for most people, that's a blue or green, something like that. So in with the good, and then kind of out with the bad, or in with positive, out with negative. And then a negative for most people is like, to be honest, a red. So it's in with blue, out with red, and it's visually calming yourself down. So that's kind of the basic one. There's some other ones that get a little bit more complex.
I would say starting with the breathing is best, even if it's just trying to, in the morning, like you said, take a few deep breaths and trying to do it at night. You're just getting yourself, start small. It's the biggest thing when we talk about anything we do new, obviously, but starting small with something like this will be important. And when it comes to mindfulness, I find even if, try and just remind yourself to pay attention while you're taking a shower or brushing your teeth. Just pay attention to how the water feels on your face or how the toothpaste tastes. Something easy like that. It just takes 1 or 2 minutes where you're just practicing being mindful. And it doesn't need to be, sitting down for 15 to 20 minutes. You would like to get to that point. That would be great if you were able to build up your practice so that you were doing 15, 20 minute a day, meditation sessions or however you wanted to do it. That would be, awesome. I say that's probably the ultimate goal that I try to have people do, but it takes a while to get to that point. So even starting small, 1 or 2 minutes a day, that's what I find to be most beneficial.
And again, be patient. The more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it.
Right.
You didn't become a great golfer or tennis player overnight. It took time to hone those skills and to keep getting better and better. And everybody heard the phrase practice makes? That's a lie. So practice makes is permanent. So if you're practiced perfectly or as close as you can, then you're getting close to perfect. If you're not practicing well and your mind's not in a good place, you're now training your brain to do that when you're playing. So you want to practice the way you want to play. But everybody hears practice is perfect because they assume you're practicing perfectly.
Well, thank you guys for
thanks for having us.
They'll hang out tonight if you guys have questions and want to connect with them, ask questions about how to work with them or anything like that.
Yeah, the email sign-up sheet, if you guys are able to sign up, that's a great way. You will get a ebook from me for signing up, and it has some more of the breathing exercises in it, some more exercises. Then also for signing up, I'm going to pick one person, and you guys can have a free consultation with me. So sign up, hopefully.
I think we have everybody's email, so we'll make sure that,
Okay,
that you get that.
awesome, thanks.
That's it. Thank you guys for coming out.
Thanks for having us.